Feast TV is presented by Missouri Wine. Welcome to the September edition of Feast TV. This month, we are going to be introducing you to the people, places, and trends that are making waves in the St. Louis restaurant industry. Up first, we're going to meet Malou Perez-Nievera, a blogger who's focused on Filipino cuisine. Then you're going to meet Chris Bolyard, who's been chef de cuisine at Sidney Street for the past 10 years and has some big plans on the horizon. Then we're going to head over to Sanctuaria and learn to make ginger beer from Matt Seiter. And then it's off to meet Jenny Baca, who creates unique upcycled design elements for local restaurants. And finally, we're going to explore the rise of sustainability in design in the food and drink scene. Now, the recipe that I'm going to be demonstrating this month is a little bit of a diversion from what I've done before. We are making cupcakes, and this is inspired by two of our print elements, one a feature on bloggers and the other a feature on cooking with tea. And I'm going to be pairing that cupcake with this raspberry port from Montel. It's not so easy to pair wine and dessert, but I think you're going to be really happy with the way that this turns out. And before I get started, let's get into the kitchen with the blogger behind Skip to Malou.
Hi, my name's Malou Perez-Nievera. I'm the creator of the food blog called Skip to Malou, where I share my recipes on modern Asian cooking, specifically modern Filipino cooking. Filipino food is basically an eclectic mix of flavors of Asian and Spanish. Whenever I say I'm a Filipino food blogger, they say pancit, lumpia. Those are the popular iconic dishes that you guys know. But beyond the lumpia, beyond the adobo, we have so many interesting food. I didn't go to a chef school. I am basically a home cook, and I cook every day for my family and my kids. They always come back to home because they miss mom's cooking. Asian cooking, don't be intimidated by it. Filipino food, no matter how little you know about it, this is it. What I'm going to show you is how to cook pan-seared lamb chops with lemongrass and tamarind, two of my favorite ingredients. This is how lemongrass looks like. We will just use basically the soft part of the inside that we call the heart. So remove the tip. That's basically just where the soft part is. And then just use the white portion. It's usually in the middle. Tamarind is like a brown pea pod. I originally used that, but I just didn't kind of like the texture, so I tried using the tamarind powder and it turned out perfectly. The first step is to work on our vinaigrette, so let's do that. So we start off with garlic. I love garlic, so let's put all those garlic there. The tamarind, you mix it with half a cup of water and just give it a quick stir. And then probably half a cup of cooking oil, vegetable oil or olive oil if you prefer. This is actually crystallized sugar cane. This is how this sugar look like when you pound it. So just add it in there. And then this is also one of my favorite ingredients, which is the liquid seasoning. Put them all in together and use my favorite tool, which is my immersion blender. See how fun? Basically, all you have to do is just rump it up, that's it. You stop when you get this consistency. Okay, so now let's work on our lamb. Let's season it with salt and pepper, just like that. Then what I usually do, remember this is the vinaigrette that we've made earlier. All you need to do is divide it into two and then leave this for later use. And then all you need to do is dip it. Simple and easy. When searing, it has to be on high heat. Your oil should be at its minimal. You'll be searing it nicely, not frying it. So remember that. And also your lamb chops should be at room temperature. So your lamb chop should be looking this good. Let's work on our vinaigrette reduction. What you basically do is pour everything in. Let it simmer until it's reduced to a nice, smooth, saucy texture. While this is simmering, you could smell the aroma of tamarind and lemongrass. The mix of flavors is just excellent. It's like a symphony in your mouth. For the garnishing, it basically adds flavor. It's fried onion. All you need to do is dump it on hot oil. That's how easy it is. There you have it. See how easy that was? Blogging, it's like sharing a part of you. I was really surprised that people read my blog. I thought the audience will be, Filipino immigrants just like me who come here to the US and, cook every day. But I was surprised that there's a wide array of people who are really interested in knowing what you cook. They're really trying it. So that for me is amazing.
Now, the heart of the flavor in this cupcake is a tea butter. This recipe, by the way, is from Stephanie Pollock of the Cupcake Project. She is obviously well known for all of her fun and funky cupcakes. This is 1 cup of very melty butter. Now, because butter is such a huge component in this recipe, it is a main flavoring ingredient, but then it's also, we're making a buttercream as the icing. So the quality of the butter that you choose is paramount. Get the good stuff and make sure that it's not salted because you can control the salt level that way. Now, to your 1 cup of melted butter, you're gonna put in 1/3 of a cup of just loose tea leaves. Now, I am following Stephanie's recipe and I'm using black tea leaves, but I think this is where you could actually really experiment. There are so many different kinds of tea out there, so you can infuse your butter or anything else that you're cooking with whatever that essence is that's in your tea. Now you're gonna turn your heat down to low and let this steep for about 5 minutes, just like you would a cup of tea, to infuse all that flavor into the butter. Once it's finished, we're just gonna strain it and then let it come back down to room temperature. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a nutty brown color and it is time to strain the butter. Just use a regular strainer and pass all of your tea and the butter through. Pretty easy. And then you just want to press on your tea to get all that remaining infused butter out of there, like that. So while I'm finishing this up, let's head over to Sidney Street Cafe and meet Chris Bolyard, who plans to open an artisan butcher shop in the next year.
Chef de cuisine is basically the executive chef's right-hand man. On the weekends, I'll usually be up on the line expediting with our sous chef, Matt Olson. We're kind of on the other side of the line. We're like the last hands that touch the plate, and we kind of coordinate with the servers and the line, and we're just kind of that liaison between, the table and the kitchen. Throughout the week, I'll be working on breaking down a pig or, working on a new dish. Mexican sage puree, which we grow out in our garden. This is our focaccia that Bob, our pastry chef, makes. We're gonna start with 2 little piles of our ratatouille mixture. This is our pork liver mousse. More of the ratatouille. This is just a little bit of the loin we grilled off and finished in the oven. And this is the peach and onion agrodolce. This is just a little bit of peach glass. Salad burnette, a little bit of basil. That's it. There you have it. I've grown tremendously, not only as a cook, but as an individual. I learned a ton from the get-go from Kevin. I mean, he's been a mentor to me. I think I became more of a professional in my career, and it gave me more direction for what I want to do in the future. And we've taught each other along the way, Kevin and myself. And we haven't always gotten into whole pigs and did charcuterie and all that stuff. That was just kind of started out as an experiment, and there was a lot of mistakes made, but it was all part of the process. It's been a lot of fun, and it's exciting to see where we're at if you look where we're coming from.
So what What is the benefit to a chef to breaking down your own pig when you can so easily just order these cuts?
It's much more cost effective. By buying the whole pig, we utilize the whole pig, so your food cost is much better in that sense. And it gives you more options. The pig is so versatile, you can do so much with it. I just love like the primal aspect of it. I mean, it's therapeutic to me. I really enjoy fabricating meat and whole animals. You know, it's time consuming, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it to me.
And you get to play with
and
toys.
You get fun big knives like this. I mean, this is like a.
What is that called?
This is called a scimitar, and it's basically just for cutting through big, large pieces of meat.
And a hacksaw.
Yeah, and a hacksaw. You gotta have a hacksaw. The idea of opening up my own restaurant crossed my mind several times, and I kind of looked at it and said, I want to have more time for my family. You know, I want to be the best dad I possibly can be. You know, it's going to be a lot of hard work, and it's going to be a lot of hours in the beginning, but I think that eventually I can set myself up to have more time. With having a butcher shop, I'm still going to have that creative outlet, because it's not just cutting an animal up and selling raw meat. It's going to be a lot more than that. We're going to, you know, anything that you can think of that comes from an animal, we're gonna make. I mean, anything from sausage to stocks to like making candle and soap from the fat, like utilizing everything.
Is it only going to be for retail, or are you going to do
No,
wholesale?
I plan on selling to restaurants as well. People are more aware nowadays of what they're putting in their bodies, and just the caliber of food in St. Louis. A whole animal butcher shop, I think would do really well. I mean, they know where it came from. They know exactly what that animal ate. It was killed last week. It's super fresh. It's a lost art, but yet it's coming back. You know, you can always hone it. It's a craft. It's a skill. Always get better at it. More efficient. I could see how people will look at it like a trend, but I think with where food is going, this just makes sense.
And we're back. And we're going to go ahead and start our cupcake batter with that tea-infused butter. So to 1.5 cups of just plain old granulated sugar, we are going to add a 1/2 cup of the tea-infused butter that has been brought back down to room temperature. All right, I'm going to beat this until it's light and fluffy, and then add the rest of our dry ingredients. Okay, so we have a nice fluffy consistency, and now I'm gonna add in just a couple of cups of all-purpose flour and just mix that gradually. Also gonna go ahead and add in the baking powder, as well as the baking soda and some salt, and all of the proportions can be found at feaststl.com as well as on the Cupcake Project's website. All right, now we're gonna mix in just 2 eggs, 1 at a time. I love using these eggs from my chickens because the yolks are so gorgeous. All right, now you can see the batter's starting to come together. So I'm gonna finish mixing this together. Let's get behind the bar with Matt Seiter for a fall perfect cocktail.
Good afternoon, folks. Here we go. We're doing a rodeo highball today. It's a very simple cocktail. This one utilizes Canadian whiskey. We actually called this one the rodeo highball because there's a little picture of a rodeo guy on the bottle of Pendleton's Canadian whiskey. Now, why Canadian whiskey? Can't we do this with other whiskeys? Yes, of course you can. But for this specific drink, when it was devised in my time up in Chicago, we wanted a whiskey that was lighter, that wasn't going to take over the ginger, that wasn't going to pretty much take over the drink. We wanted something to complement. All of these are great whiskeys. Love drinking these. Just depends on your palate. But for us, when we created this, we wanted to stick with lighter. Why is Canadian whiskey different? Well, first off, Canadian whiskeys normally are bottled at a younger age than any of these others. You've got 12 years, 4 to 6 years on this. Canadian whiskeys really range about 2 to 4. So lightness really complements the ginger, not battles it. So this one, extremely easy. Anybody can make this. You take 2 ounces of your Canadian whiskey. We're gonna take our vegetable peeler and get a lemon peel. We're literally gonna take the peel, squirt those oils right in there. We do want those lemon oils a part of the drink. Drop your peel right in there. From here, you take your crushed ice, and then we're gonna finish this by just topping it off with a little bit of ginger beer. Give it a little swirl, and there we, folks, have the rodeo highball. Today, a little extra, we used the ginger beer that we make here in-house in Sanctuary. Come on back in the kitchen, I'll show you how to do this. So first off, you're gonna take fresh ginger root. You don't have to skin it, leave the skins on. Throw your ginger root into a food processor, and you're gonna chop it up nice and fine like that. Take your ginger, you can go right into the pot that you're gonna cook it in. You're gonna take your vanilla bean, cut it in half, then you wanna take the seeds out. The pod itself is gonna be really oily, so you're also gonna use the pod. But if you just take a butter knife or back of a spoon or something, and just scrape out the seeds like so, those seeds are gonna contain a lot of oils, a lot of flavor. Take the pod you just scraped, throw it in there as well. Now, normally I would be wearing gloves, but since we're doing this at home, most people don't wear gloves. So you got the vanilla seeds on your hands, right? Take a little bit of sugar, scrub off your hands. All the vanilla beans, oils are gone. We're gonna take our sugar. This is the process called maceration. Dump your sugar in there, stir it up, coat everything. Now what this does, that sugar is gonna act like salt a little bit. It's going to draw out a lot of moisture from this ginger and gonna add that really, really sharp spiciness to the end product. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna let the sugar do its work. We need to take about 10, 15 minutes, let this sit, and you'll see the juices form. After about 5 minutes, let it sit for 10, get as much juice out of it as possible, then we'll continue on with the process. Lime juice, this little bit of acidity is gonna add that nice little kick and balance, and then we'll just add our water. So we'll take this, we'll just come over here to our stove, turn it on, let it come up to a roaring boil, go from there. What we're gonna do right now, we're just gonna turn it down to a simmer. After it simmers for about 10, 15 minutes, we literally are just gonna pull it off the heat, put it over on the counter, and walk away for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. Just let it cool down, let it steep, kind of like tea. All right, so the ginger beer has been sitting on the countertop for about 20 minutes right now. It's cooler to the touch, it's still a little warm, so please be careful. Right now, all we're doing is straining off all the solids. Now the fun part of ginger beer. This is where you get to be a little mean and rough. Take your cheesecloth or whatever it is you're straining, and you're gonna wring it out just like a wet rag. This is gonna get all that extra ginger juice. It's gonna add that little bit of spiciness, and it's gonna get a little bit more of the vanilla oils into your final product and make it a true spicy ginger beer. Let's go up to the bar, show you what container to put this in, that way you can have ginger beer all season long. We've got our ginger beer, it's already been made, strained off, it's been chilled down. We've got our container, this is just a simple 1 liter container. We're taking our chilled ginger beer right into the container, put this contraption together, simple CO2 charger, right before it goes, twist it on tight, turn it upside down and give it a little bit of a shake. From there, it's a matter of pour and enjoy. That's ginger beer.
So when Stephanie first wrote this recipe, she used a different type of a moonshine, one that was infused with strawberries. And I wanted to use a Missouri-made moonshine. This is by Crown Valley, which has a fantastic winery in the St. Genevieve wine region. In her recipe, Stephanie mixes in the strawberries that are actually in that Midnight Moon. And because we're going to have a raspberry port with the cupcakes, I am mixing in raspberries that have been soaking in that same moonshine. Just fold your fruit in. You could do blueberries, you could do peaches, you could do any kind of fruit that is in season. That looks absolutely beautiful. All right, I think it's time to spoon our batter into the muffin tins. And before I do that, let's meet Jenny Baca, who brings ultra creative ideas to local restaurants.
What I'm super proud of is Melt 1 and Melt 2 are all from his original pieces that he already had. So like the sofas from a coffee shop, and then the farm table was a conference table. Like we just took a sander and went crazy on it. And then the light fixtures are from a local artist that actually did the pendant lighting over at Rise. Now we're in a commercial space, so you can be a little more dramatic and theatrical, and I've been wanting to do commercial spaces, so this is honestly like the most perfect time for Melt and Rise, 2 coffee houses, both commercial, and it's just falling together. Ben had found a light fixture that he had seen and he had fallen in love with, and he said he wanted me to build something for his beautiful restaurant. I mean, this thing was a serious explosion. It's like 4 foot by 6 foot. I didn't know how to weld. I just started wiring it. What I love, like I said, is that it went into a very clean, modern space. Simone came from Ben. I mean, I couldn't reupholster. Again, if I can't do something, I make it up. So I couldn't reupholster. So I hand painted the wing chair, but let them eat cake, and then just did, sweater pieces and hand stitched them all over. And it was a big honor to have those two pieces in those two places because I think they are just really well done and more modern. Where, Jess with Rise and then Melt are a little bit more bohemian, a little more organic.
There's just nothing like it, like that I've seen in St. Louis. It's just so outside of the box and it's so delicious on your eyes.
Our relationship is very free. I mean, if she says I hate it, she hates it. If I say I hate it, I hate it. I mean, it's very natural. And I think that's really important to me. I design a whole different way when people pin me in a corner or want me to be like, they're asking me to draw it out or write it down. And her and I never almost even discuss things. I just ask her what she wants. I come, I load it in my car, it explodes, and I leave.
She's just got an amazing vision for the coffee bar space, so.
And that's one thing I love also is almost all my projects, clients help me hands-on. Like literally paint the walls, literally paint furniture.
I could not have done this without her.
Cupcakes are out of the oven. They smell fantastic. It is heavenly. So we are going to now make the buttercream icing, and we're going to do a half a cup of butter. And I'm using that same butter that I used in the cupcakes, which has a really high percentage of butter fat. And I chose that because I want it to be as rich as possible. We're also going to use the remaining tea-infused butter. Cream this until it's light and fluffy. This looks pretty fluffy to me. And 2 cups of powdered sugar. If you typically go to the store and buy those containers of pre-made frosting, just give making your own frosting a try. It's this easy. I've filled this lovely pastry bag with buttercream. Now, if you don't have one of these, all you have to do is take a Ziploc, snip the end off, and it basically does the same thing. So now you can ice your cupcake any way that you want, and I'm just gonna kind of play around, and just have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously and just have a good time. You can just lick that off. So sustainability is a very hot topic when it comes to food production, but it's not discussed that much with regard to architecture. So I want to introduce you to some of the folks here in town that are building restaurants and other types of food businesses that are beautiful as well as sustainable.
As you travel around the country and you visit different cities, the sustainability, green movements that exist, the localism that exists, it's something that really is part of the fiber of I would say small business in America today. Since we opened up Urban Chestnut, we've really been focused on that side of our business. We do a lot of things from water conservation to recycling to composting to we have a solar array there. But one of the things that we specifically knew that we wanted to do, and we wanted to do that the first time with Urban Chestnut, is really contribute to the revitalization of the city of St. Louis itself. Finding ourselves in the Grove is a little bit of, like anything, is a little bit of a journey. The idea is to contribute to that community and maybe become sort of an anchor of a base of local business down here.
Well, it's important to me to do unique things in the Loop and also to do the right things. And there are so many people, especially young people, that live in the Loop that really realize Earth's here for a little while longer if we don't start doing the right thing. And the Loop is just an area where people do want to do the right thing, so we're just trying to lead the way in a big way with an entire roof of solar panels. Marc, Lopata, and everybody really at Microgrid has been wonderful to work with.
Many of us at Microgrid are involved in the green building community and specifically the U.S. Green Building Council. And that's where I met Tom Flood. Tom is the Properties and Sustainability Manager for the Schlafly operations. This is about 110 solar panels. It's used by the bottling line and the production and everything else in the building, the restaurant operations, the lighting. And we figured that the array produces enough electricity to bottle about a third of the beer that they produce here in a year. We've worked for a lot of the bigger and more notorious companies in St. Louis. The St. Louis Cardinals, Busch Stadium does a tremendous amount of food preparation every day. We've calculated it's about enough to cook 4 million hot dogs in their commissary.
The rooftop terrace bar at the Moonrise Hotel was popular from day one when I opened 4 years ago. So it was real important to me to add another room, but to have it an indoor-outdoor space so that even in the wintertime or on a hot summer day, people could come up here. And for the staff at the Moonrise Hotel, it was real important that it be a sustainable addition to the hotel. So we decided to experiment and do the entire roof as solar panels, 107 solar panels that produce 33,000 kilowatts of energy a year, which is amazing. It's enough to do the entire rooftop, the new moon room, rotate the moon itself, and 1 or 2 floors below us. So it's pretty significant. Another thing we did was we put in an electric charging station, and the first hotel in the Midwest to do that. It means a lot to guests when they see, oh, they really do mean it.
The sustainability movement has really grown exponentially. So many of our local businesses are interested in how they can reduce their environmental footprint.
With this specific project, what we're doing is something called LEED commercial interiors. So our energy consumption will, in a big way, be reduced. We're going to put a solar array on the building, which will offset 25 years. I want to say it's something like 450 acres of trees planted. LEED certification in a general sense is just trying to build or modify current buildings and facilities to make them as sustainable and energy conscious as possible. And that's specifically one of the things that we're doing here.
So if you're trying to reduce energy consumption, you can't just do something today and then that's the end of it. You have to keep on doing it, and you have to keep on promoting your message, and you have to keep on passing that on to other people and trying to grow that movement.
Rather than raising this building on this location, for instance, we kept this building, which is going to save everybody energy costs. It's going to keep landfills free of debris, and in general, it's less wasteful. Let's put it that way.
We consume a hugely disproportionate amount of resources.
It's just a question of having the desire to put the money up front to do it right in the beginning and wait for the longer term payoff. But it does, and if everybody around the world would have similar ways of looking at Earth, I think we would be in a little bit better shape.
It's a little trite, but it feels good to be able to do these things and contribute in that way.
Are we going to be part of the problem, or are we going to be part of a solution?
I am having so much fun icing these cupcakes. You'd be really surprised at how prevalent the tea flavor is in the cupcake itself, as well as in this remarkably simple buttercream icing. Now, of course, I'm pairing this with that raspberry dessert wine, the Framboise, from Montel Winery, which is in the Augusta region of Missouri. The folks over at Montel, they really pride themselves in doing every single bit of their winemaking. So this port was not only grown on their land, but also distilled. So September is Missouri Wine Month. Cheers to our sponsors, Missouri Wines, and cheers to alcoholic cupcakes. See you next month.
I need you, baby. Come back home, baby.